Are we on? I think we're on right now. I think we're still morning too. So good morning, Miami. Good morning, SoccerX. Such a pleasure to be here. Beautiful day, beautiful facility, and always nice to see the industry of soccer come together. And you know, sometimes I think you forget that it takes a lot to organize these types of events. So I do want to appreciate all the people on the SoccerX team and the efforts they go to make this happen, because without them, the industry doesn't get these opportunities to come together again. So I appreciate that very much, and certainly have enjoyed the opportunity to ask to come back and moderate a panel around a topic that is near and dear to all of our hearts, and that is the oncoming World Cup in 2026. For those of you who don't know, my name is John Kristick. I currently assume a role as head of consulting for a sports agency called Playfly Sports. But I think the reason they asked me to come on board is something to do with the World Cup and the role that I played as the executive director of the bid that ultimately was chosen by FIFA in June of 2018, which allows us to celebrate between Canada, Mexico, and the US hosting this event. It's hard to believe it's 570 days from now until the event takes place. And I was doing some quick numbers last night. It's been 5,700 days since I was first asked to join the bid for the 2022 World Cup. I was managing director of that bid, which many of you will realize we did not win, which resulted in the wonderful event that was in Qatar. And as difficult as it was not to win that one, if we had won it, we wouldn't have the chance to be here now, okay, talking about what comes ahead. So what does come ahead is by far the most ambitious, largest World Cup in history across 3 countries and 1 continent, first jointly hosted since what transpired in 2002 when Japan and Korea hosted. But the size has just taken on a leaps and bounds increase. So with 48 teams, 104 matches, 7 million tickets, it'll be off the charts in terms of the size, the enormity, the scale, the amount of resources that will go into pulling this off. Everyone up here, and you're going to hear a great panel today talk about how excited and positive they are about it, but don't underestimate the work that's ahead of us all. This is a monumental exercise, and my hat goes off to everyone at FIFA, across all the host cities, the resources that are connected to try to bring this to life is not something to be underestimated. There are a lot of firsts. And someone said to me, we're flying and building and flying the plane at the same time. Or maybe I got it wrong, but I think it's very appropriate for that. But the panel we have today is a wonderful panel to talk about this. And they come from such a mix. I mean, we have a former corporate executive leader of one of the largest cruise lines in the world. We have someone who was a chief executive and president of a luxury car manufacturer. We have a sports marketer who's been through and through so many premium events and properties in his career. We have someone who's leading all the revenue generation for one of the most elite stadiums in the country. It's such a mix, and I think that's what makes this so unique, is we have such talent that are connected to delivering this event, which will ultimately benefit us all. But rather than me introduce them by person, I'd like to give them each a minute or so to say something about themselves and what makes this a special opportunity for them. I'll start with Lisa, who absolutely wins for the fashion today. But anyway, Lisa, I'll let you go first, please.
Thank you. As my sister tells me, I know how to carry a theme. So here we are. We are 26. We are Miami, the Miami host committee. We're the hometown team for this amazing event that's in front of us, not too far away. And I do come from an interesting background. I haven't been part of the sports world. I've been part of the corporate world. I was the CEO of Celebrity Cruises for 9 years. I was at the Royal Caribbean Group for 39 years, so almost 4 decades, and I decided it was time to get out of that crazy life and relax a little bit, and yet here I am on the stage with all of you today, and I can tell you it's anything but relaxing, being part of the World Cup. it's fun for me and interesting for me because I've always been a lifelong learner and I've always challenged myself to do different things and to surround myself with an amazing team of people that could help me pull it off. And I think you think about being from the corporate world and what are you doing in soccer, but there are so many similarities. Make no mistake, this is a big business, and I ran a big business, and and with a lot of moving parts, and that's exactly what this is. And I'm honored to be with my colleagues from the other host cities, and you, John, and all of you in the audience today.
Okay, JP, over to you.
Oh, gosh. When I tell this story now, I'm John Persch, and we are 26, and we are Boston. I get to this point, I'm not quite sure how I ended up here, but I turn around and say 30 years later, here I am, and makes me cringe a little bit. But I'm a former collegiate athlete, a former international athlete, and to John's point, I've had a really fortunate career in being able to run communications and marketing for USA Rugby, WWE International, Major League Rugby, the America's Cup, most recently in Barcelona. But as long as I've been away from Massachusetts, it's still my home. I'm still a Boston guy, and I got a Boston girl right next to me.
That's right.
She'll say she's from
right.
Miami, but she's a Boston girl.
I never say I'm from Miami. I live in Miami.
But it was an amazing opportunity to come home and tell a story. And we don't have opportunities to tell stories in sports in the United States quite like this. We say this all the time, but this is the world's largest sporting and cultural event, and it's coming to our hometowns. It's coming to our backyards. And I think that certainly as an American and as an American who has worked overseas for the bulk of my career, we see how big the World Cup is. But now we get to localize it, right? So we take this macro level and we're making it micro, and we get to bring it to life on our hometown. And so for me, that was really the most exciting thing. So the career and the opportunities I've had with Olympics and World Cups sort of pale in comparison to being able to do something for my home and my hometown and my region. So excited to be here and excited to work again with our host cities. And we have a collective sense of bringing something amazing to life. And it's great to be able to be here and to visit with all of you and to be able to work alongside our colleagues to tell this story.
Adolfo, over to you from the West Coast, the other side.
Yeah, we are 26 Los Angeles, and for me, I think I'm a product of the growth of the game of soccer in this country. Started in soccer in 2004 with Chivas USA, the expansion team at the time. They've been working with the league. I got to work at MLS and really put on events, at not the scale of the World Cup, but we did Copa America and also worked on the brand side with Herbalife and really promoting soccer around this country and around the world. And most recently, obviously, I'm at SoFi Stadium, and really what SoFi Stadium is going to bring to the world in a market like Los Angeles. I'm excited to be part of that and be able to tell that story to our community, our culture, not just locally, but globally, like you said. I think it's educating people from around the world what's great about each of our individual cities, and we each have our own individuality that comes with it. And for me, again, it's really an honor to represent a lot of people that have been working on this game in this country for a long time and trying to make sure that it continues to grow. And I think that's today as a result of that and what's coming in the next 2 years, I think for us is going to be critical for the growth of soccer. I know the last World Cup in Los Angeles launched MLS, so hopefully this launches the game in a further level as well. And honored to be here with all of our partners as well.
Dietmar, the other representative, this one from Atlanta, but what I love about Adolfo is you're talking about one of the most elite stadiums now in the world, and I think that right next to that is Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So Dietmar.
Thank you, John. Glad to be here. I'm Dietmar Exler. I spent the majority of my career working for Mercedes-Benz, and then had a chance to join Arthur Blank, the EMBSE Sports and Entertainment organization, where I'm responsible, among other things, for the operations of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. In a way, I'm your stereotypical guy. I like cars and sports. I get to do both, so I'm living truly the dream. At Atlanta, in our stadium, we have the excitement. I call it a three-legged journey in soccer. We're doing really good with Atlanta United. Atlanta is a hotbed for soccer. Audience is there, fans are excited. But on the international level, we had a chance to be part of Copa earlier this year. We have the Club World Cup coming. That's probably a level up. And then FIFA 26, which is another big level up. So that journey in international soccer, for me personally, means a lot. I used to play soccer until I was 18. There was not a chance I would ever had a professional career and get paid for it, to be very clear as well, but still love the game. But it's also for all of our cities a big chance to make a move forward. I was not in Atlanta, but I hear from many of my colleagues the stories how the 1996 Olympic transformed Atlanta and helped it jump a big step forward. And we are anticipating in all the cities that host the World Cup, all the 16, the same after the World Cup in 26. So a really exciting personal journey for me, but it's also for all our cities, an exciting event that will happen in our places.
One thing that I want to just touch on quickly, and for those of you who aren't aware, there's some, other than the size of this event, which is so much larger than it's ever been before, the way FIFA's model in managing it this time is fundamentally different from the past. Historically, there's always been an organizing committee within the host country that was kind of responsible for delivering the event and coordinating with all the cities, but always laddering up to FIFA. This is the first time FIFA's implemented a new model where, in essence, they are managing the organizing committee's function. But that puts a significant increased level of responsibility on the individual host cities, who really are the delivery partners feeding into FIFA. So the representation you have here, I was just doing, I think it's probably almost 1/3 of the matches that are going to take place in the World Cup in 2026 are really being managed by the teams that are represented here across these 4 cities. So with that, what I'd like to do, we're sitting here in South Florida today, which is just it's top of mind for so many people with the sport, with the culture. You've got FIFA having their offices here. You obviously have a pretty exciting story taking place just a few miles from here with Lionel Messi and Inter Miami. But Lisa, what does success look like for you as leader of the host committee with the 570 days ahead of you now in terms of the World Cup role?
Well, first of all, I want to say a couple things. I'm a girl and I love sports and cars too, so I'm with you, Dietmar. And we're both in this great environment where we get to experience both at the highest level. And what I find interesting about this new FIFA model is that it creates an environment where all of us can work more closely together, probably than other models. And for me, that's one of the things that I've enjoyed the most, is partnering with all the other host cities and sharing our excitement, sharing our challenges, sharing the opportunities, and coming together collectively. So that's all really great. And what I thought about in terms of my goals when I took this on, I didn't think about it any differently than when in late 2014, I became president and CEO of Celebrity. I remember sitting there thinking, okay, I always try to start with the end in mind. Like, what do I want to accomplish? What do I want this brand to be? What do I want to do? And what do I want my legacy to be? And I thought the same thing when I took on this exciting new role. And I have 3. I always try to distill things down to 3. It makes it easy for me to remember and other people to remember. And I thought about Miami and the sexiness and the vibrancy and the messy factor of Miami, and thought, I want Miami to be the envy of all the other host cities, even though I love all of my colleagues in the other host cities. I want them all to say, wow, look what Miami did. I also want to make sure that this has a good financial outcome. As I said in my opening comments, make no mistake, this is a business. Every host city has made a significant financial commitment to host these matches. We didn't get a check that says, okay, we're coming to town and we're going to pay for everything. You know, we got the message, we're coming to town and you have to pay for a lot of things. So that's what we're all struggling to ensure that we do. So I want to operate in the black, and I don't care if it's $1, as long as it's positive. And then the last thing that's a big part of these World Cup matches are the legacy programs that we're all going to do in our community. And my ambition and hope with the rest of the team and the rest of the community leaders is to create a lasting legacy in communities so that people will say after the last match is played and the whistle is blown, if it were not for the World Cup, this would not have happened for us. And remember all of these games and matches in a really positive and long-lasting way, because the World Cup will come and the World Cup will go, but we want it to live on in our communities for a long time after that.
Well, she set the marker down, okay, in terms of Miami.
I want to say I come from sales and marketing. I'm a sales and marketing girl, I'm highly competitive.
She set the bar high for you,
for
you, John. But really, I think one of the challenges for each host city, though, is obviously, working to be aligned against such strong universal messaging about what the World Cup is about, and it's going to be such a significant. But how do you give it that local feel in your market so that you can leave that local legacy, so that you can really engage your local communities with the stories they want to hear?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say I lost right off the bat when Lisa showed up with a scarf and the matching blazer. Yeah, I mean, I knew I was done, and then we sat next to each other. I think you're right? That there is a universal story that the World Cup brings, right? It brings the world together, and we see that. And I think oftentimes, as Americans, we don't typically see that. We're a little myopic in our sports. We call ourselves world champions, except we only play against ourselves. So I know, Dietmar, I know. But so that's one of the things that we struggle against from a host city standpoint is finding the authenticity within our own hometowns, right? As Lisa said, talking about Miami, it's sexy, it's Miami, it's South Beach, it's messy. I mean, there's Beckham, it's the story, right? It's Hollywood on the East Coast. I'm from Boston, right? And when I first got there, I wanted to find our identity. Who are we? What is it from being from Boston, right? We drop our eyes. We have an attitude that goes with it. I mean, there's Boston. Anybody who spent any time in Boston, right? There's a sense of if you're from Boston, you're from nowhere else. And so we created an identity with it, this sense of it all started there. We're talking about our 250th birthday as a country, something that's uniquely American, something that's unique to the United States. And even though the world is coming to our doorstep, 250 years ago, it started in our backyard. And so we came up with this idea of it all started there. The first public school, the first public park, post office, legalized gay marriage, the first organized soccer game in the entire United States took place on Boston Common in the 1600s. So there's an authenticity about the origins of where we are. And we wanted to lean into that. And we wanted to lean into the fact that for us, and I think we can tell this story differently than any other host city, and every other host city has its really unique point of view. But for us, it all started there. It all began there. And there's a sense of leaning into that. And we talk about our iconic brands, right? And Lisa touched on it. We're trying to figure out how to monetize this thing. As Lisa said, nobody showed up with a check and said, "Here you go, put this thing on." So we have to figure it out. But for us, I think ultimately we're all storytellers, and we all come at this through our own unique stories and ways to bring this to life. So while we have an amazing palette that FIFA gives us and gives us the world, we have to figure out how to localize it. And so for us, finding and threading that gap between telling this global story on this global stage, but making it authentic to Boston, right? Making people who drop their eyes proud of seeing the world come there and proud of showing off their hometown. And so for us, our goal, our team's goal, is to find a way to tell a global story on a backyard level and bring it to life. And anybody who knows Boston is a way that only we know how. Right, you can take the Mark Wahlbergs and the Matt Damons, and John Krasinski just got named sexiest man alive. Ben Affleck, right? Yeah. So we've got really unique characters to tell this story, and that's what we're looking forward to do. So it's really the road to 26 and telling the story. It's not just the 40 days of the tournament, but it's the lead up and bringing that to life.
Sure. And Adolfo, you are supporting the host committee significantly, but you also are involved with, again, an entertainment center within SoFi, okay, where you're working across so many different events. But I am curious if you can speak a little bit about how LA is crafting its role as a host city, but also it seems like you're doing so much across football more broadly. It is the World Cup, but you've got a really, really extensive runway of other events that you're building off of. So if you could speak to that, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, in Los Angeles, soccer is part of our ecosystem 365 days a year, right? It's one of the top soccer cultures in the world. We have 2 MLS soccer clubs, and NWSL, and many USL clubs as well. So for us, soccer was top of mind, right? Whenever Stan Kroenke built SoFi Stadium, he built it with the idea that soccer was going to have a home there. And if it wasn't for SoFi Stadium, I think the World Cup coming back to Los Angeles would have been very difficult, and really elevating the game to a global brand. And so when I got there, part of our storytelling was validating the work that had been done for many years, validating our community. There's a passionate soccer fan base there. We needed to bring events that resonated with the community, along with football, American football and college football and concerts. But we knew that there was a community that needed soccer to be top of mind, and validation of so much of Los Angeles it's youth culture playing soccer, it's pickup games playing soccer, watch parties on every weekend, whether watching EPL or watching Liga MX. The culture is there. So we really wanted to make sure that we were part of that storytelling. And for us, the World Cup validates a lot of those communities in Los Angeles. And now we want to show the world what that is. So when they come to Los Angeles, we have representation from over 140 countries. So when they come there, they're going to feel at home. They're going to feel that, okay, there's a space for me here in LA, and us opening the doors as the epicenter of music and sports and entertainment, right? We're going to be able to roll out the red carpet for the world with the opening game. Come on into the US, start your journey here, go to the different cities. As a gateway to Asia and Latin America, we're really thinking through how we're going to be able to do that and make sure that it starts early. And what we're doing is, the emphasis has been on SoFi Stadium, but to your point, our campus is 300 acres, so Hollywood Park. And Hollywood Park hasn't been able to take really the center stage because we opened with SoFi Stadium, and then we also have a YouTube theater. Well, we're going to have a chance to do that next year, and we recently announced that we're working very closely with our friends at CONCACAF to do a celebration of the CONCACAF Nations League Week, and really showcasing it's not just the games, it's the culture of CONCACAF, it's our region. So we're really going to expand beyond the games. We're doing some community events. We're going to bring music to the games. We're going to bring a festival environment. And really leading into 26, the storytelling behind that, it's that there's more than the game. It's people coming together to celebrate the game. And then bringing the entertainment side.
Yeah. You're using the World Cup as the North Star. And quite frankly, you need to, given the size of your market, and also you've got Olympic Games, you've got Super Bowl, you've got so many other things. So if you just focus on the World Cup itself, it would do well. But you really want to take advantage of this long tail that you can use to...
I feel bad for Adolfo. He's got nothing else going on.
Nothing else going on.
A couple of soccer games.
And that brings us to the quiet, underdressed one at the end with Dietmar here. Because here we have, Atlanta right off the heels of finding out that they're going to be staging another Super Bowl in the near future. You came out, again, being announced as a Club World Cup host. You're going to have 8 matches in World Cup in 2026, including a semifinal. So really one of the elite venues for the market. How is the World Cup different from everything else that you're doing within that stadium? So I'm just curious how you're preparing for this from your side.
So there's a couple of things that are different and a couple of things that are the same. So what is the same, and that's also important to mention, our owner, Arthur Blank, is pretty big and intense. We bring people together to give them a good time. This is where fan-friendly pricing comes, and the experience that fans have in our stadium is absolutely the #1 metrics for us. Now we are a football stadium. We have the Falcons. We play 5, 6, 7 college football games a year, and we play soccer. The task for us in operations is, if we play football, it needs to be a football stadium. If we play soccer, it needs to be a soccer stadium. So Arthur pushes us very much. If you come in, you need to come in and say, this is a soccer stadium to the greatest extent possible for every event. And of course, specifically for the big international soccer event for FIFA 26, we want to be a soccer stadium for everybody that comes in. We make no secret that we do other sports, but people need to perceive us as a soccer stadium, and we do everything to make sure they have a wonderful time. That's really what we try to do, bring people together and give them a big time. Now, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. It's not just, the lines on the field and the configuration from the stadium. It's also addressing to the audience and where they come from. Mm-hmm. So for FIFA 26, we all should anticipate to have a lot of international visitors that are maybe not as familiar with the stadium and the surrounding. What are we doing for them to make them feel at home in the city and everything around? We are in somewhat a privileged situation in Atlanta. We have 15,000 hotel rooms within 50 minutes walking of the stadium. We have 2 subway stations, the MARTA stations, you're right there. We have an environment where the state and the city, 2 political parties, work really well together on all of these topics in the benefit of everybody. And so for us at the stadium, it's a lot of work from transportation, but it's all focused on the task, give everybody who comes to the stadium a good time. That's the fans, that's the teams, that's the media, and basically get the desire into them to come again to Atlanta, to come again to our stadium when everything else come up, say, I want to go there again. That's what we're trying to do.
And you heard it from Dietmar, fan-friendly pricing will stay, right? That's a...
There will not be an event in the stadium where this will not actually be in place. That is about as safe to say as there is anything. That's something we're committed to.
That's fantastic. Fantastic.
Something to add there, I think, John, is as we think about what we're all doing here is we do this day in, day out in a lot of our cities already. And that's, I think, a really unique aspect of this World Cup. We welcome fans for multiple events, different types of events. And I think 2026 is really different in that sense that our cities and our venues are well prepared for, gatherings. I think it's now how do we make sure that we adapt to that international fan coming in, those services. And that's something that I think is really key in terms of, but operationally, logistics, a lot of that's already happening day in, day out.
Day in, day out.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the one difference is that we all need to get our arms around. This is not a one-day event. It's a 30-day event, depending on the city, 25 day event, 8 games, I think, for most of us in the whole area. So it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Keeps giving. Yep.
Yeah.
We say it's 7 Super Bowls. We have 7 matches, and a lot of people compare this to Super Bowl, but it's like 7 Super Bowls. That's a lot to pull off.
And I think the footprint that each host city has, I mean, speaking from a Boston standpoint, our stadium is in Foxborough, and that's 35 miles south of Boston. So we'll be operating a fan fest. We will have our fan gathering footprint 35 miles north of where the matches actually take place. So we're running 2 massive events, 100,000 plus simultaneously. And so it's the logistics of all this. It's, somebody said before that the work that goes on behind the scenes is epic. Dealing with local governments, transportation, police, security in multiple jurisdictions in our particular case, because we go different towns in different areas. So it really is it's each host city that's putting this on, the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes is truly staggering. And it's so impressive.
And you're right, the footprints are different. I mean, Dietmar, you've got a very, very concentrated, footprint from Centennial Park, where FanFest is likely to be, to where the stadium is, where you've got the convention center, all the hotels there. Where LA has a slightly different dynamic yourself, and even in Miami. And I know FanFest is something which is just going to be an overwhelming, opportunity for fans to engage in the communities. And I know that the cities, the amount of time and energy that the host cities are putting into right now in terms of where they would be placing their FanFest, how long they're running, what's the programming going to look like. There's so many different iterations of that right now. That are underway, and I think that the plans are going to be really, really exciting by the time the fans show up to experience that.
John, one comment to FanFest that we all are preparing for in Atlanta. Obviously, we have matches. I lived in Germany 2006 when the Worlds was there, when the FanFest was basically invented, the public viewing. That was the first Worlds where they did it. the fan tours was biggest on the days when there was no match in Stuttgart. Because the people who lived there, the fans that came, they had nowhere to go. So you go out to the big, TV screens and watch it all together. And that excitement on days when nothing's going on in the stadium, bringing everybody together and do the public viewing, is going to be a tremendous opportunity. That so means for the city, it's 7, 8 matches, and every day in between there is a big event as well on top.
Yeah.
Right. And matches in other cities that are exciting and important.
And,
but
and
they'll
what
be
I
able to
said
watch.
earlier about some of this has never been done before. Yes, our cities have had fan events, but have 16 cities across 3 countries simultaneously hosted this many events with this many fans. We don't know yet what teams are playing who on what days. So when you think about the security implications, the opportunities and everything else, all of these have to be taken into account. And then that lightning in a bottle, I mean, just as you said with Germany, they didn't plan FanFest for necessarily having 1 million people, okay? But when it all comes together, and that's the influx of support that you have to manage in your cities, they have to be ready for that. So that is all the work that's happening behind the scenes right now, which is also pretty exciting and intimidating when you think about it from,
At the same time,
from that perspective. Let's try to step back. Where does this all go? What is the legacy? It's a word that's always thrown out with events like that, but when does legacy start? When does it stop? How much time, Lisa, are you thinking around the legacy that this event is going to leave for the sport itself, for how your city approaches big events? Maybe you can speak to that a little bit for us.
Sure, I will, and I don't think it's different than any of my other colleagues because it's a big part of what we're able to offer sponsors. So not only is it a big part of what we're committed to within our communities and the way that we can engage our communities and the way that we can talk to our communities in a positive way about what these matches mean to us outside of the fact it's going to fill hotels and restaurants. Everybody wants to know, every commissioner wants to know, what's the difference it's going to make in our neighborhoods and our communities, because one of the rubs against the United States is that soccer, football is pay to play. And so a lot of communities where that's not possible are left out of the sport, and in many cases, those are the same communities that live for football and love football and want to play football. So as a team, we are spending a significant time and a lot of energy thinking about the legacy programs, where they end up happening, how many kids we can support over what period of time. We don't want this for 1 year, we want it for 3 years. And oh, by the way, it's one of the biggest assets that we have to sell in our sponsorship packages, and one of the biggest ways that we have to talk to our corporate partners about why they should join us and why they should invest in these events, because they in turn are going to be able to make a big difference in the communities in which they do business. And so when you think about the assets that every host city has, legacy projects are a very big part of that and critically important. And we are spending as much time on legacy as we are on all of these other moving parts and balls that we're juggling in the air on how we're going to ensure that this is incredibly successful.
Anything to add to that, or is it just cut and paste?
Yeah, no, it's sure, it's cut and paste. No, to Lisa's point, right? That our job, we're not FIFA, right? And we don't. Nobody wrote us a check. Nobody dropped something off and said, "Here, go put this on." So everything that we try to do from an economic standpoint has a cause and effect, right? There's sponsorship packages. I'm the old sports marketing guy up here, but I can now tell an authentic story to say that the money that we're generating goes to operate this event, to put it on safely, to bring it to life for the world. But also that it's 1 and 2. The second effect is the legacy and the impact. By way of example, we just announced a couple of weeks back with the U.S. Soccer Foundation that we will, as in every one of our packages, 20 packages, we are providing a mini pitch for underserved neighborhoods for every single one of our partners. So that's happening now. That's the story now. But going back, and we talked about the birth of soccer coming out of 1994. This is a story that I can say authentically to to the global CEOs that sit in my city to say that over $1 billion of economic impact that's being brought to the region, and the generations, the decades of legacy and impact that will be left behind from this is massive. And this is why we need them to be a part of it. It's not putting money into my pocket or Lisa's pocket or John's pocket or anybody else. We are operating and we are leaving social legacy. And that for me was one of the biggest draws. Sure, there's sports marketing. There's, we're going to put up signs and there's be storytelling and there's suites and those things. But that's not really the story, right?
No.
The story is what we're able to do for our communities. And the story is the leave behind and that impact. And that makes me really proud. It's challenging at times to get there, but it makes me really proud to be able to say that when we're having these conversations in really big numbers and for a really big event. But for me, it feels very authentic and genuine to tell that story.
Interesting. I think this will be one of the unique benefits of this World Cup model that FIFA is implementing, is that legacy is going to be a lot more bottom up, city by city, is what you're going to see. Each city is really crafting their own legacy, which if you go back to World Cup 94, where you did have that organizing committee that Alan Rothenberg, my business partner, ran at the time, they had certain priorities. They generated a profit from the event. He mentioned the U.S. Soccer Foundation. The U.S. Soccer Foundation was the beneficiary of that profit. The U.S. Soccer Foundation was established after the World Cup in 1994, and they have built from success to success. So hearing that the foundation is a partner in Boston, to me, shows you how that legacy builds. MLS was a legacy of World Cup 94. That was a condition that FIFA placed upon U.S. Soccer when they awarded them the rights for the World Cup in 1994. Is, listen, coming out of this, you need to build a professional league, and look how it's sustained itself to today. So, but I think the difference this time, I think you're going to see the legacy stories very much are going to be crafted through these host committees and how they are building up their own programs. So I think that's going to be something that really, really plays a lot of benefits across the entire sport. Another legacy to me that should never be underestimated is the industry that we all work in. I mean, I could probably ask how many of you did something around World Cup 1994, which was, my goodness, 30 years ago. So we're dating ourselves here. But this will, I'm sure, be a catalyst for a whole new generation of sports industry professionals who take this World Cup experience and for decades on will use this to build successful careers in it. Adolfo, what keeps you up at night when you look at what's going on across all of the host committee's efforts, the plannings around the stadium, all the different football things, and you look at this North Star with World Cup 26? What keeps you up at night? What are the real challenges that you see, or is it all we're in good place, sleep easy?
No, I mean, look, I think we've all talked about it. It's definitely a challenge, and for us operating on the venue side, there's 300 acres, and really, how do we activate 300 acres for a global event? And this would be one of the first times that we'll be able to do that, because we didn't get to do that for Super Bowl, since the site is still an evolving construction site. And so that's why we're going to take a chance and do this next spring on the road to 26. But to me is, how do we deliver for our community? Our community needs this. It's validation of a lot of work, for our community. And we think about that first, whether it's youth soccer, whether it's just the hospitality industry that exists in Los Angeles, the entertainment industry, is how do we bring them into the fold as well? We're at a soccer conference, but to me is sports and entertainment. And really, how do we bring that? And really, it's the intersection of both of those, bringing those together. To us, I think it's a unique challenge. Understanding, because being on both sides, on the venue side, we get to market 6 nights of Taylor Swift, and we're going to have 8 games of the World Cup. It's very similar.
Yeah. The
fan base and the operation around the city is, but no one's really talking about that. And how do they coexist? So to me, is having a seat at the table, having that experience, is we know there's a lot of key learnings of what this brought, because we brought an international audience for Taylor Swift, right? It was really truly like a World Cup. So to us, how do we make sure that we're delivering for our community, and making sure that our communities understand what the legacy is? Because soccer is going to be in LA beyond 26, and there's already an existing ecosystem. And for us, again, when we first opened in 2020 with no fans, one of the bigger efforts that we did, we wanted to bring soccer, and when we had our first soccer match, and really we established a relationship with CONCACAF. We wanted CONCACAF official matches happening at SoFi Stadium, right? And we've developed a really good relationship with them to bring and tell that story, because CONCACAF is our partner in the region.
Yep.
And it's elevating them, right? Because FIFA will come and go after 26, yep. But CONCACAF, to me, takes center stage over the next couple of years leading into that, and we wanted to be part of that. So I think that's also really important.
That's important, for sure.
I'm just glad that he doesn't sleep, because I haven't slept in months. So I mean, if he was going to tell me he sleeps fine, I was going to be worried.
Well, that lets me into a good question for Dietmar, and Lisa can probably speak to a little bit as well. But 570 days to the FIFA World Cup, but we've got a Club World Cup. Okay, that is now on a number of your to-do lists, which is only 7 months away from now. So, yeah. So Dietmar, how do you look at the Club World Cup as it relates to the planning and the risks and opportunities leading into 26?
First, don't cut us short. It's 7 months and 2 days.
Okay,
we're working on that. But the same that everybody talks about, whether it's Club World Cup or any event, and obviously big on FIFA, but the same for Club World Cup. Our North Star is always, what are we doing for fan experience? And I want to say that why, to make sure that people really enjoy it in the stadium when they come back. The teams who play here want to come back and play here. The promoters who do a concert with the same Taylor Swift for 3 days want to come back and do it here again. All of these are important for our long-term success, I think, and that is the North Star. And for me, whether it's Club World Cup or anything, I'm always reminded what Edwin Moses, told me once. A great American athlete, ran, track, and I think for 9 years, 9 months, and something like that, he won every race back in the 80s. 2 Olympics, didn't win the third one because America didn't go to Moscow at that time, but fantastic athlete. And he always reminded me, I didn't win in the competition because what I did in the competition, I won because of everything I did before. And that's the same area. The harder we work, the easier it is on game day. So what can we do to put ourselves in the best position? We have the 7 months and 2 days, the 570 days. How do we make the most out of this to put us in that situation that everything will look so easy on game day? Which sounds very easy to say, but it means thinking now what might or might not happen and being prepared for everything. And many of the things, and you probably all saw that and experienced it, that we realize afterwards, we would have never thought up front. How do we bring everybody together to be really prepared and make everything work? Because every day that's going to go by where we don't do anything, we don't get that day back.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what we are focused on all the events. We got CFP on January 20th, actually, before. That is obviously, full throttle. And then it's, obviously a bunch of other events, but on the big events, all on the Club World Cup and on FIFA 26.
I think that's the one thing that I take away from so much of this. We'd like to say 570 days, but again, it's going to go so fast now. There's been an enormous amount of planning. You obviously get a sense of that just hearing what we're talking about now. It's been going on for years. But the lights start getting turned on over the course of the next 90, 120 days, where you're going to start to see all the planning start to be executed, okay? And, the promotional plans that you're starting to see come into shape. I've already starting to see it from the commercial sponsors who are associated a lot with FIFA and some of the host committee ones that will soon start to be announced. You're really going to see things, and then it's about execution. The planning is kind of behind us. It's then going to turn into an execution mode really, really fast. And before you blink, the event will be over. But there's plenty of fun before then. We still have a few minutes left, so I just wanted to maybe toss the one question out about the sleepless nights, if there's any. Maybe I'd pass that one on to Lisa. Is there any things? I mean, fundraising we know is important for all the host committees. They're all in the market right now. They're really working hard to demonstrate value to local partners. But what, Lisa, is really the kind of key thing that keeps you up at night, or what you're most excited about every day when you go to work?
The one thing.
The one thing. It's always like they always want one thing. Well, and it's not that simple, right? Because there are so many things that we're just trying to make sure all come together and happen. I think the logistics is probably, we've touched on it a little bit in all the things that we've said, whether it's 300 acres or learning from all the events that happen to make sure that everything that we do, when it's our turn, it goes as smoothly as possible. We're dealing not only with, a lot of moving parts, a lot of different government agencies and municipalities that come into play and have a say in how we balance and manage and navigate all of that. And we're also, one of the things we haven't talked about is we're also dealing with the federal government, because when you talk about,
I've tried to keep politics out
I
of
know. No, and this isn't about politics. It doesn't really matter. It's, government
Yep,
is government regardless. And so it's slow, and you want to make sure that people that want to come into the country are able to come into the country and able to get the documentation they need to get here on time. We need help. You think about this event that's happening across North America in 16 cities over the same 5 or 6 week period of time, with the millions and millions and millions of visitors we're going to have from other cities across these 3 countries and all over the world. And you think about the security that needs to be a part of that, and how each city is able to shore up its funding and resources for security. I mean, those are the things for me that, okay, on a local level, we're going to do our legacy projects, we're going to raise money. Companies, would be foolish if they didn't join in and participate in this. But you think about transportation, security, people being able to get into the country in a reasonable amount of time. If right now you applied for a visa, the World Cup matches would be over, even though we've been told that they're going to start opening the floodgates or something. But those are the things that really keep you up at night, the things that aren't necessarily in your control. Which in everything I've ever done, those are the things that kept me up at night, the things that weren't in my control. Not that I'm perfect in everything I do that is in my control, but it gets even more worrisome when these things aren't.
Well, listen, I think I see we're down to 10 seconds, so I think we'll be responsible and end on time. But I really want to thank the panelists. I want to thank you for having the attention to listen to us. Hopefully you share the same level of excitement that all of us do for what lies ahead, not only for as fans of the game, but also as members of the industry. So I want to thank you all very much, Dietmar, Adolfo, JP, and Lisa. And I wish everybody else a great rest of Soccer X. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Time is up.
Get a photo on stage before we get down.
Here we go.
We have Janelle.
Should we take these off?